So I realized last week after doing that video that I've never actually explained what all I have growing. So let's do a little garden tour. We're starting with this huge rose bush because it's one of the inherited plants. It was here when we got here, and I feel like it has to stay. It has given me some trouble in the past. It's been infested with some kind of honeysuckle vine, and I still have to periodically go through it and make sure that it's not getting reinfested. But it also was getting really leggy a couple years ago, so I had to trim it down really far. But I mean, look at her now. The flowers are no longer as beautiful as they were last week, but you know, I think it's I think it reblooms. I'm not sure. It's a knockout, I think. But again, it was here when we got here, so I don't know. Flowers are a really pretty deep pink, and I think that I'm gonna have to transplant it at some point to try to get rid of that honeysuckle. The vine, it's kind of like embedded itself within the roots, and there's no way to kill it. I've tried everything. So this is like a last ditch method, and I would rather not, but it might come down to it. Let's move on. We've already kind of seen this. We've got mostly tomatoes, tomatillos, some herbs and peppers. We'll come back to this once they're like fruiting, but everything's like early stages right now. So the only cool thing to look at this time. I think I planted it last year. I would love to try to grow some cuttings from this and see if I can't get it to spread in the yard, because it smells nice. This is actually my second time plant. There's another one over here. This one was grown, I think, 2 years ago originally, maybe. Maybe it was last year. I don't remember when I plant stuff anymore. But it's a lime time, and it has just spread. Really great ground cover, especially in these beds where I don't want to have to weed. Then I got a little blueberry here. She needs a friend though, and I'm not sure if she can stay there because they're supposed to get 4 to 5 feet in diameter. So I'm a little bit worried that this is a little too small. I might have to move her to a more sunny area. For now, I'm just glad she's alive. And the only other thing I have, I've got an empty bed, another empty bed, another empty bed, and then a cucumber over there, but again, small. So we'll get back to that when it's fruiting. What are these? Strawberry mint, apple mint, and an actual strawberry, which is just a few feet away from my strawberry bed. So all of these fence beds are 2 feet wide by full 8 foot long, almost full. And I started out with 2 strawberry plants a couple years ago. One was an everbearing and one was a June bearing. Bet you can't tell which one's bigger. It's this one. This one is down to, I mean, she's got a bunch of runners now, but it was down to like 1 or 2 little shoots. So what I think I'm gonna have to do with these is cut the runners off, because there are no flowers yet. This one had a few strawberries, but they got eaten. So that's another thing I'm gonna have to do, is build some kind of cage so that the squirrels and the rabbits don't get to it. But definitely, they are healthy. They don't need any help growing. I need to make them not grow, or at least send their energy into making fruits instead of more of these. You gotta do it before they start taking over the yard. So if you're worried about growing strawberries, put them in the ground and leave them alone. That's my best advice. Let's keep going. Let's get to some flowers. So I mentioned some of these last video, because there's a hydrangea behind me. It's a blue one. And then I have a tomato. No kidding, there's a tomato over here. Okay. In my front garden, tomato. In my front garden, I really wanted to do like a pink and blue kind of theme with the flowers. And what I'm realizing now is that my ultimate goal is to eliminate weeding and mowing as much as possible. So I'm gonna have to expand my color choices. So the shrubs and perennials that I've chosen all have pink or blue flowers. I've got astilbes here. I did try to do bluebells, but they didn't make it. And then I've got a nice row of, I'm not sure how to say the word. I've heard some landscaper on HGTV call them arborvitae. Arborvitae? They're the emerald green variety though. And they should get 8 to 10 feet tall and 3 or 4 feet wide. And I think these will be really good if they make it. This is kind of a shady area for them. They should be in the full sun. But if they make it, then it'll be nice screening because that's a pretty busy road out there. So I hope they make it. The only other thing over here is behind the tree, between the tree and the fence, and that is a hosta. So this part of the front garden gets a little bit more sun than that side, just in general, although it is underneath the tree. But it means I have a little bit more variety in what I can plant here. Let me see what I have. I think this is phlox. And then there's another one over here. By this rock is Lithadora. Now my phlox have pink flowers and this has blue. So keeping the theme. Got a pink lilac, which is flowering, very exciting. I'm hoping that one survives because pink and lilacs. I've got another one of those right here, but it is leaning heavily towards the sun. This tree has such large leaves. I don't know what it is. My mom's first house had one of these on the side yard, and I still don't know what it's called. But the flowers smell so nice. For like 2 weeks in the spring, it's just like a profusion of fragrance. Then you get these things. Giant bean pods. I don't know what this is. If anybody knows the actual name of this tree, let me know. I like the way it smells though. The only other thing I have up towards here is on the front slope, and it's nothing to look at really. It's nothing fancy. A creeping juniper. I think it's the blue rug? Blue star? Blue something. But it's a creeping juniper. It's not flashy at all. I've got it in the shade under this tree because, again, trying to eliminate as much mowing as possible, especially on this hill. And so I'm hoping that it just kind of spreads out and keeps the grass from growing. It's a really good ground cover, and we shouldn't have to mow under there again. Keeping with that, let me show you what I've got along the top of this slope. So I started out with just like a line with these, and same thing, going to the middle. I didn't really think it through, but I didn't really have a choice because if I just kind of sporadically put them on the hill, they would have gotten mowed. So at least this way, we know where they are. With the cuttings, hopefully I'll be able to spread and just kind of dot them along this hillside, and then I really want to put some native wildflowers and just spread them amongst all these shrubs and not have to mow ever again. So starting from the outside, on each side, although that one is no longer with us, you can see this pink is a drift rose. It's supposed to be a ground cover rose, and it's pink. And then next to it, going in, what is this? Here in this corner, I've got another one of those pink lilacs. This one is a year older than the other two, which is part of why it's so big. And it does get a little bit more sunlight than the other two, since it's only shaded by the house and not a whole tree. It doesn't get quite as much sunlight as I think it should as a lilac, but it seems to be doing okay. And I hope that it continues, because I've got this vision. When I planted it, I wanted to be able to sit on the porch and just be surrounded by the scent of lilac. It's a really nice thought, and I hope I get to experience it. This one is the Josie Reblooming Lilac. Now it looks like it has bloomed already this year, just a little bit, but maybe it'll bloom again. I hope, if I'm lucky. If not, then I just want it to keep growing, really. As long as it lives, that's fine with me. It can bloom when it feels like it. Then over here on this side, we kind of saw a little bit of this last time. That is the division from the front hosta. And then I do have some ground cover coming back over here. Whatever that was, I still don't remember. And it looks like that will spread. And that'll be nice, because mulch is also expensive. Plants and mulch. But at least plants come back, you know? Mulch doesn't. You gotta keep topping it up. So if you get ground cover, then that should suppress the weeds. Theoretically. It does look like my hydrangea is gonna bounce back. It won't be anywhere near as pretty as that one over there, because it's basically starting from almost scratch. Like, it does have a pretty good root system at this point. So I have hopes for it now. I didn't before, when it was like nothing. But now that I'm seeing leaves and new growth, the grief has passed. And I don't want to do anything too big over here because of that situation. This is I don't know what to explain. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what happened. There was lattice there, and now there is not. We got stuff stored under there. It's not important stuff though. But access is still like a nice thing, especially if you drop something on the porch and it drops under. You gotta be able to get it. So I have a plan. It's just a matter of getting the material and then executing. Isn't that how it always is? I have all these plans. All these plans that involve wood, but I have to get the wood before I can do anything, so it won't always look like that. Hopefully I'll be able to do that this year. That'll be one of the smaller projects that won't take so long, I think, which is great because it's starting to get hot. It's starting to be 90 every day. But as long as I keep my plants small enough, it shouldn't be a problem. So, got just one more thing to show you on the other side of the house. These sunflowers are actually really pretty. They're not like your standards. They are, well, somewhat smaller, I'd say. Just as tall, but like the flowers themselves. And they're red and orange and yellow, so they're fun. But they do encompass the entire side of the house. And they are leaning, so I'm gonna have to do something about that. Probably just like a brace, a long brace. So that's all that I have planted outside right now. Obviously I'm gonna have to add to it, otherwise I will never get what I want. But the big thing this year is going to be cuttings. Now that's not something I've ever done before, so I'm a little scared to try it, but mostly for the plants. I don't want to kill them. But it can't be that much harder than starting from seed, right? That will be another video. Thanks for watching. See you then.